Hello, everyone. Welcome to LDS Women Thriving. This is Lindsay, and I'm here with my friend Hannah. I'm super excited to talk with her today about her life experiences. She's been through something really, really hard over the last few years, and yeah, I feel like she has a lot to share about what she's learned, and so we're gonna just dive in. So, just a little bit about Hannah. She just graduated from college, and her and I know each other from BYU, Idaho, in digital and social media marketing. She's from Idaho, and she has a passion for weightlifting and all things fitness, which is awesome. I do too, so that's great.
Love it.
All right. I know that you told me a little bit about what you went through, but I'd actually like to step with us through the story and what happened.
Sure. Okay. So I've been at college for the last couple years, and I have this darling boyfriend, and I love going to music festivals. I love it. It is my bread and butter. And so we planned out going to this music festival together, and we have our outfits planned, and we're driving down, and we're so excited. And I woke up in a hospital bed a while later. We never made it to that music festival. I just woke up in a hospital bed, and I later found out that I had broken nearly every bone in my body. You lose count when you break so many, and I had to have 9 life-saving surgeries. And apparently, it was like every single night to my parents. It's like, if your daughter makes it through the night, or maybe if she can make it until tomorrow, so a lot weighed on them. But I woke up, and it wasn't until later, because I have a brain injury now. I had 9 life-saving surgeries, broken bones, a brain injury, my eye dropped, everything. And so finally, with my brain injury, when I could start remembering day-to-day things, they didn't tell me in the news about my sweetheart Brock until later, that he was killed at the scene. And so that's a little bit about my tragedy.
And I feel like that must have been quite a experience for your parents too, to have to go through that and worried
Yeah.
that and consistently told that they might lose you. That's wow.
They were just called to say their last goodbyes to me. I kept flatlining. And, maybe we would stream my boyfriend's Brock's funeral. They would stream it, and then they got called to say their last goodbyes. And, that was going to be their reality. So I can't even imagine what they were going through.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I wasn't there, but
And what were your first thoughts when you woke up and you found out that the love of your life was not on this earth anymore?
Well, a mixture of things. So with a brain injury, I did not act my age for a long time. I was on heavy drugs, and my brain injury, really took a lot away from me. So I was a little special of needs. And I remember even when I was in my coma, doctors would come up to my parents and be like, "Who's Brock?" And they'd be like, "That's her boyfriend who didn't make it." So I was very aware, and I remember being like, "Hey, I have a boyfriend. Does he know I'm sick? Where is he?" And my parents would just "He's at home," or something like that, right? Because I have a horrible brain injury, and it's they don't want to make the brain bleeding worse, or they don't want me to freak out when I can't even remember day-to-day things.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I could start remembering day-to-day things that they told me. But I have to describe to people, I've mourned him 4 different times. Once in the hospital. Once when I was discharged from the hospital, because then reality sinks in.
Yeah.
Once when I got off of all my opioids. And then the last time when I moved back to Rexburg, where we both were living and where we met and everything. So those were the 4 really big times that it sunk in.
Yeah. And when you're working through that kind of grief, what did you learn in that process? I mean, that was the fact that, some people think it's just once that you need to work through the grief, right? Say the grieving process. But it sounds like for you it's been, and that it's in reality more of a learning how to grieve over and over again sometimes when it hits you, when it's fresh.
Yeah. I want to say there's no right or wrong way to grieve at all. I think there's unhealthy things to do, right? And for me, I like to push on the bruise. And sometimes you need to push on the bruise. Sometimes, I love to go through old pictures. And sometimes one day I'm smiling at an old picture. And then the next day I'm bawling at an old picture of us. It just depends. So be patient with yourself. And just be quiet, too. Because they're here with us. The veil is so thin. And I've learned that, and I'm sorry if other people have to learn that the hard way, but the veil is so thin, and so just sometimes be quiet in that process and be accepting and understanding of when things might happen.
Yeah, I love that. And I like that you mentioned, for everybody it's a little bit different, but that, you do have to face it, and you have to go through it. You can't ignore it. How is the person you were before the accident different from the person you are now?
Oh, that's a good one. They're two different people. They're absolutely two different people. And I love old Hannah. I think she's great, and that's all I wanted to be during this accident. I wanted to be like old. I wanted to get back and be who I was. So badly. And I didn't really going through trauma. It's hard because you do kind of step away from that person you were. And so many times people, friends, family members are like, do you feel like yourself again? But it's do you feel like you're getting back to who you were?
Mm-hmm.
No. And that's okay. It's not about getting back to who you were, but it's about learning who you are now. It's about understanding, because if we're being honest, my vision is different, my voice is different from being intubated so many times, my body is different, full of scars, I walk differently, my body feels different, and I think differently too. And so it's all just about learning who I am now.
And what have you learned about yourself? Who are you now?
I've learned that I'm tough.
Yeah, you are.
You've got to be tough to go through this trial. But, I don't know. I feel blessed that, I was able to understand that I have a huge support system, a support team of, if it was a friend from high school, maybe somebody I went to class with in college, or if it's my family or my friends. And so I think they've helped me show me who I am to them. But I think it's more important to just understand I can overcome these trials, and I can be tough, and I can be positive even when there's nothing to always be positive about. Just for me to keep going and have that willpower. So not a fun experience, but I think it's fun that I learned it. It's fun that I've gone through this and can say that about myself, I guess.
I love your perspective, honestly. It's true. And it's still, the thing is, it still hasn't even been super long. It's still only been a year and a half. And for you to come this far is incredible. Not even just with your body, but you. It's pretty amazing.
That's
yeah.
Really sweet.
It's true. I feel like I've had a front row seat to just watch your journey, and I'm sure I'm not the only one to just feel very inspired, and yeah, it's been really cool. In this experience for you, how was God and Jesus Christ part of your healing journey over these last 18 months or so?
Yeah. I will say that God and Jesus Christ were not a part of my healing journey, but they were my journey. Every bit of the way. Christ carried me. And it's amazing to see modern day miracles happen right in front of my own eyes, not just once, but over and over and over and over again. Like, and it's undeniable. It's so undeniable. Like, I can tell anybody my story, and they'd be like, yeah, Christ was involved, because there like during my healing process, like the bulk of my healing, I'd come home every single night, and I would say hard prayers, really difficult prayers, asking for help with like a horrible infection, or maybe with a surgery that I was going to go under, or maybe to just help me with my broken heart and just to help me be okay. And they all turned around, all of them, like, and I got help with all of them, to the point where like I would go into doctors' offices and they'd be like, we've never seen this before. And I'm like, I know. They don't teach Jesus Christ in med school, but
I love that.
they don't. And so they're like doing write-ups on me because they've never seen a recovery like this. And like, even like some doctors, they'll be really like, they'll be tough and everything. They'll be like, it's a big deal you're here. And I'm like, thanks. And they're like, no, it's a big deal.
You don't understand.
It's the Savior. It can't get any more obvious.
Oh man. Wow. And you know, it's amazing that you've been able to see his hand in all this. Sometimes I feel like his hand is throughout our whole lives, and sometimes we don't even see it. And
Right.
but you've been able to see it. What, if you don't mind sharing, what have been some of those miracles that have happened that are just miraculous to doctors and you?
Okay, the one that sticks out, because this one actually changed my testimony, and it sounds bizarre. So I shattered my face. I don't know, like, if I really mentioned, my whole face is shattered, so my whole face is metal.
Wow. That's awesome. You're half robot. That's cool.
It's very true. So there became, when I mentioned the infection earlier, I have this horrible infection in my face, and this is going to be gross. It's going to be a
No,
little gross.
go for it. Let's hear it.
But, you know, like our air pathways, when we breathe in and we breathe out, it's like this. Mine closed. Mine, like, really from, like, all the swelling, maybe from, like, the metal. I had multiple MRIs and, like, different scans to just see what could be going on, and we couldn't really, like, figure it out. Like, I've got metal. I have a couple loose screws in my head, ever so literally. But it was causing a horrible infection in my face, and it would smell really bad. And it's gross, but, like, it was gross. And so I was just at a point where, like, it became a little unbearable. I was asking my ear, nose, and throat doctor for surgery on it, and he was like, yeah, we need to remove this screw because it's probably what's pushing to close that pathway. And so my face was, like, a little bit rotting, and we wouldn't want it to spread up to the eye.
Yeah.
And this was really hard. So I had to do, like, a nasal rinse every night. And those who have done nasal rinses, they're not fun to do twice a day, every single day.
Sound miserable.
It was miserable. Yeah, well, this infection was causing so many problems. So you've never heard more sincere prayers than my prayers every single night before bed. And just throughout the day, like, please bless that this surgery will go well and that this infection can go away. And so, with that being said, I had a lot of surgeries on my face with, like, the reconstructive surgery and everything. So I have, like, a couple scars in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And over the next couple weeks, I started feeling something. Feeling like a little something up there. And I was like, huh, whatever. You know, like, I'm no stranger to feeling something weird where my suture is, but it's fine. Until finally, like, a screw came out. It was a whole screw that worked its way out through my mouth. Now, and I never had that sinus problem again. I never prayed to my Father in heaven, please bless a screw will fall out of my face. But I prayed,
Yes.
I prayed that the infection could go away or that the surgery would go well, but he had other plans, another plan to build my testimony. But it was just, when you see a screw that like came out of your face, you're like, well, that is a miracle. And even the doctor was like, what do you mean? Like, a screw worked its way out of all of my plates and worked its way down. And
It's
to
like
me,
the Lord was
like,
like, let's take that out. That'll help.
let's fix her. She asks and expects for miracles.
Wow.
So that to me was a big miracle.
That's amazing. I love hearing these kind of stories, and I mean, they're not just, sometimes we think stories. No, that's real life. It's your life. It's pretty amazing. Can you share the most impactful experiences, positive and negative, other than the one you just shared, in your healing journey?
Well, I'm like, how much time do you have?
We have as long as you want.
No, I have so many like positive and negative experiences where I'm so blessed to have these experiences. I think one that comes to mind, being like on an LDS specific podcast, I could be excited to share this. But it's a little dark, where I actually have not talked about this in any of my recovery, but I had a really big problem with opioids. And for those who understand, it's scary. I was on multiple opioids multiple times a day for multiple months, and that is horrific. And so during one of my episodes, like it was scary. Like, I'm talking rocking back and forth, maybe hitting myself situation, like not a good scenario at all. But during one of these like really scary episodes, I didn't know if anything was real. It's just how opioids work a little bit.
Yeah.
But I got the prompting to read my scriptures every single night. And one thing about me is, I'll be so honest, I've never been the girly to read my scriptures every single night. Wish I was. But that's just never been me. So me with my brain injury, and my vision is really, really hard at this time. I can't really see, and I'm just not acting my own age. I went to my parents and I said, we're going to read scriptures every single night. And so we did. Another thing that's been hard for me in my recovery and in my trial, and it's not to say woe is me, but like, I've never heard of a car accident this bad. I've never heard of like a situation this bad. And it happens, right? Other people have horrible traumas, but at this time I feel as though I just had nobody to look up to. Nobody to tell me that it was going to be okay. And that was really hard. I didn't know if things were going to be okay. I didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel, but as I'm reading the scriptures with my slow brain and my horrible vision, I started reading about Nephi. And I just started reading all these Book of Mormon stories, and I'm like, is this about me? Is this actually a story about me? Which, my trial is so different from theirs, right?
Yeah.
But if Nephi can be guided through the wilderness through faith, if Moroni can be such an amazing leader through faith, if these villages that are going through horrible disaster, famine, like hardships, and they can be led through Jesus Christ, then I can survive a car crash. Then I can get through this. It's because the same Jesus Christ who helped them is the same one that's going to help me. And I say this like respectfully and humbly, but like, what makes my story any different than these wonderful Book of Mormon stories? Because I am a testament of Jesus Christ.
I love that. Thank you for sharing your testimony on that. How special. It also shows the power of the scriptures. literally to get us through anything, any any terrible situation in life. It's a gift. Such a gift.
It is, and they're specific to you and me, even though you don't think you're anything like Moroni at all. But it's
Mhm.
so specific to us.
Yeah. What a blessing. I'm very grateful that we have it in our lives. Why do you feel you survived this accident?
That's a hard one, honestly. Just, it's a hard question for me because maybe somebody else didn't survive, but I don't know. I would also like to know why I survived. It's hard because I have a lot of survivor's guilt about it, and that's a really hard topic for me with the survivor's guilt. And sometimes I shake my fist about it a little bit, where I'm like, why did I? And so I'll find out. I don't know right now, but I am hoping to find out. I'm being willing, so that's why I am always trying to like push forward and move forward, so that maybe when it does come upon me, when I get that experience, that I can just be ready. But until then, I'll just share my testimony and share my story.
Awesome. I like that you said, you just sometimes you don't know why things happen, and sometimes you won't know until many, many years later. But that you just need to have faith.
Yes.
And in terms of your boyfriend Brock, what has helped you, has been like some of the most helpful things to help you heal from that broken heart?
I don't think a lot of people will understand until maybe they're grieving somebody, but I talk to him. I talk to him as though I'm talking to you. And I not always does he talk back, but sometimes I get sweet little impressions, or I get feelings, or I get signs from him. And to me, it's so beautiful to just, that I've discovered, like I said earlier, that the veil is thin and that he is here. It's, mourning is difficult and it takes time, and I still have horrible episodes, but I know that he's so happy right now. He's so happy being on the other side of the veil. And I need to know, I just need to remember he's so happy. I think it's us who are like, now we've got to figure out taxes and politics
Life.
and jobs and whatever this life has, right? But he's at peace, and so I just need to be strong for him. I always like to do little things in honor of him, and so just to remember him and to carry his name forth. But just understanding that
beautiful.
they're at peace.
Yes, and that they want you to be happy and to overcome this, which you have been doing very well. So, you're welcome. What after effects do you still live with from this experience? This is spiritual, physical, emotional.
After effects. I have a lot of really cool scars.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I have a really hurt foot that will put me back a lot. Just like getting used to this new body. I have a brain injury that will sometimes take my vision away from me. Only for a little bit. And that can be really scary.
Yeah.
And so maybe it will take away my word finding, that I can't come up with a word that we use hundreds of times a day.
Yeah.
But it's all getting better, and if it doesn't, then I have come to peace with it, that's how my body works now. I think the biggest after effect that I have is trauma, and just understanding that I went through this, and understanding that it scared a lot of people, or that a lot of people lost somebody, that I lost somebody. I think it's just, and so the after effect that I really, really have is just empathy for other people. Like before this I had empathy, but now I have like an even greater knowledge of what it's like to be pushed to your limit. And so I think just wanting to take care of other people and help people with whatever being a shoulder to cry on, maybe, and just understanding, because like I said, I know what it's like to be pushed to that limit, and I have a better understanding that my Savior also knows what it's like to be pushed to that limit, because he suffered it all. And so I think that's why my Savior cares so much for me, because now that I've gone through something, I care so much for other people. And so I feel as though I've created such a close relationship with my Father in heaven and my Savior Jesus Christ through all of this. And so I always I keep saying this, it's undeniable in my story, and so I always want to stay close to him.
Wow. Beautifully said. I feel like when we go through trials, we have a choice. We can either blame God and get angry and upset, and maybe you've been there sometimes with the grieving process that happens.
Oh yeah.
But to where you've gotten to the point where you have been so accepting and really trying to have faith and looking to God for strength. I mean, that's what he asks us to do. So that's incredible. With going through such a traumatic experience and trying to move forward, what is your hope for the future? And how do you feel like this experience will help you live your best life?
I think within my trauma, like when I was going through like the midst of being in a wheelchair, not knowing if I'd be able to walk again, not understanding any of this, I never saw that there was light at the end of the tunnel. And that was really scary. I didn't think life would get better. And because I'm always like glass half full, I'm very happy-go-lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I really struggled with, is thinking that it'll ever be okay, that things are going to get better. And they did. And now I get to look back and be like, I actually went through that? That's insane. Like, wow. And what a blessing it is to even look back and think like, oh, I did go through that. So I think, and I'm still finding happiness, and I'm okay saying that. I'm still trying to find happiness and purpose, but I'm slowly finding it. I'm slowly like finding friends and going through the motions. I just graduated college and I'm looking for a job. So I think when things get tough, that's not what life is. Don't submit to that circumstance. Just keep pushing forward and getting through and understanding that things do get better, whether you think so or not. So I just, for the future, I just, one step at a time and finding that happiness.
One step at a time. And happiness comes in the day-to-day victories, simple victories, and not, all at once.
Or I just want to build off of what you just said. So I went to therapies every day for months and months, whether it was occupational, speech therapy, physical therapy. I went to multiple types of physical therapy, counseling therapy. I went to it all and that was my life every single day, is going to these. And I had no quality of life. I really didn't, aside from seeing my therapists and trying to get better. And I talked to my speech therapist about this, of like, I feel as though I have no quality of life. And one thing that she told me to do is every single day, like before I go to bed, write down 5, we called them little wins, 5 little wins to write down. And they would be super small. They would be like, I had a really good piece of chocolate today.
I love that.
They would be small, yeah. And my grandma called me today, and I talked to her for a while. Or I said a funny joke at physical therapy and it made people laugh. So they were very small wins. But there was that conference talk, and I wish I knew off the top of my head who said it. It was about less than a year and a half ago, like fall 2023, I want to say. He said, "You're only as happy as you are grateful. You will never be happier than you are grateful." So being grateful for a little piece of chocolate, that made a difference. Even though it was just one piece of candy, like being grateful for the small things. And that did make a difference in my recovery because I could appreciate those small things and even then, like how you said earlier, not always can we see the Lord's hand in our life, but I kind of saw when you're forced to write down 5 little wins that made you happy that day, you can see the Lord's hand in your life.
That's awesome. And it seems like, if anybody is going through literally any trial and their hearts are heavy and they're down and they're struggling and they feel like they're trudging through, and sometimes they feel they're trudging through alone, which they're not, they can lift up their hearts by just looking up, looking around, seeing, just like you said, the little things that are, I think that's referred to as tender mercies. The little
Yes.
things in life that God's like, here you go. Like, you can do this. Life is not as terrible as you feel right now, and it will get better.
Yes.
God is amazing.
Because, I'm sure, everybody will go through a scenario where they have nothing to be grateful for. Like, here's me. My body hurts. I don't know if I'll ever be normal again. I have to go to therapies every day. And my heart is hurting. I have nothing to be grateful for, but I have so much to be grateful for. So I think everybody will go through something where they have nothing to be grateful for, but yet you have to look for those tender mercies. So you have to actively search for them sometimes.
I believe it. And I'm guessing, with your experience with this, it's probably going to influence all your future trials in life. You'll be able to approach them with a very similar perspective of sometimes having to just get down to the basics of the 5 little wins. Awesome. What are you most excited for your future, for these coming years?
You know that saying, whenever you have a plan, God laughs?
Yes.
You make a plan.
Yes.
Because life just changes. I think I've always tried to make plans, and then obviously so much changes. So I'm excited just to see what comes out of finding a career with my friends, maybe with finding a partner or things like that. I think I'm just excited to see where life takes me, because it's taken me some fun places so far, and I've had really cool experiences, maybe a hard experience, but I guess I'm eager to see what next my journey will bring me. What beest thy will.
Yes. Awesome. I love it. You're on your way to a bright future if you keep that attitude and that perspective that you just described. It's awesome. We all need more of it in our lives. I just have 2 more questions for you. One is, how do you feel like with your parents and your family and what they've been through, how have they been a support system to you, your parents and your friends and family?
Oh my gosh, I love this. With my mom, I'm her only daughter. I'm her only child. And she's the type of mom who, if I stub my toe on a chair, she's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Just panicking, right? If I, maybe slip a little bit, slip on some ice, oh my gosh, are you, so she loves to worry and take care, in a really, motherly way. She's such a mom. And so I can't imagine when you're told that your daughter was in this horrific of a car accident and that we're doing everything we can to save her life, this. She should have been in a puddle. Not to say that she didn't cry and freak out a little bit, but right before the accident, I needed help getting access to my patriarchal blessing.
Mm-hmm.
So she actually had access to it, and which I don't care if she reads it. By all means, she was there when I got it. So she was basically marching around the hospital reading my patriarchal blessing. When the rest of my family, they went to med school, and they're like, it's not looking good. She is not in favor to continue on, and I don't mean that lightly. Like, I
Yeah.
truly was just on a deathbed. But my mom's marching around with my patriarchal blessing. She still has work to do. She's not done yet. Because she just had so much faith. Like, here in her patriarchal blessing, she's got more to do. And then along with that, we were told in conference by President Nelson to seek and expect miracles. So she basically, I can imagine her prayers were like, I was told to seek and expect, so now that I'm asking for this, hers is going to get better. She's going to be okay. So my mom, I've honestly, I've called her Lehi in all of this. Because she's had the utmost of faith. More than me. More than me. She's just known the whole time that it's going to be okay. This is the same mom who freaks out if I stub my toe on the corner of a table. And I couldn't have done it if I were her, if that were my child. But even like the rest of our family like looks up to her, like she never not once doubted that you would pull out of it. And so looking at my mom for how much faith she had, it's inspired to me to have faith. I'm like, well, if she has faith, I guess I should have faith in myself. If she believes me, and she dropped me off to, she and my stepdad, they took me to every single therapy, every single day. They've supported me. My mom's been a shoulder to cry on, to like have horrible like outbursts of just crying, and to have this broken heart of all of this trauma, and to tell her, hey, I'm in pain. My foot hurts, my stomach hurts, my face hurts, and she doesn't even bat an eye. What can I do for you? How can I help you? And so she just has so much Christ-like love. She and my stepdad is so amazing because he's really high up in the medical field. And so he might have not taught me how to walk as a little girl, but he taught me how to walk now. And I
Wow.
think I know. And learning how to walk when in your 20s, that's tough. Walking's hard. And he would just organize all of the pills. I had to take so many pills every day. And he would help organize my pills, and just, it was always, what can I do for you? So I hope this trauma never, ever happens to anybody. But if it does, I hope they have parents like mine to support them.
That's so special. I love, how much I feel similarly in terms of my mother's faith really inspires me. And I feel like it's the coolest thing when you can have someone there by your side. And you can only imagine, if it's your parents and your family that care so much about you, how much Jesus Christ and our Heavenly Father just adore and love you. It's amazing. It truly is amazing.
You can always feel Christ's love through other people. Like, that's why we like to minister to each other. It's because we want to exemplify Christ's love. And it's amazing to be surrounded by those who really can exemplify his love.
That's awesome. I always think about how, this life, we could have come to an earth by ourselves and gone through trials and experienced hard things and learned and grown, but no, we came here together so that we could learn and grow together and lean on each other, and it builds such deep love and growth in relationships between two people when they have to go through something hard together. It's amazing.
And like another thing that I think about so often is we all have spiritual gifts that are so different from one another. Like my mom's spiritual gift is to serve. I have a friend's spiritual gift who's to listen. Another spiritual gift can be like to make you laugh. And so it's like, if we didn't have one another, like all these like different spiritual gifts, like we wouldn't need one another without all of these spiritual gifts. Like maybe I have something to offer that the next person doesn't. And so I just love looking at people for their gifts and what they have to offer, how they can like, we can help one another and just bless each other with all these attributes.
And that's the purpose of them. The purpose of these
Yes.
gifts is to bless and to lift and to love.
Yes.
Hannah, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your experiences. It's amazing. And I on this podcast, the purpose of it is to help people, and it always helps me. It always lifts me and inspires me. So, and your story has inspired me so much. And yeah, do you have any other experiences that you want to share before we finish with one last question?
So when my parents were able to come to, because I got flown, I was in Idaho and I got flown to the University of Utah Hospital, and they were just trying to have me have a heartbeat. They were just trying to keep the heart beating for another minute. So finally, when there became a time that my stepdad could lay his hands upon me to give me a blessing, when there was a moment that he could do it, he gave me an incredible blessing from what I've heard. And he asked for he blessed me with two specific things. And one that I've never really heard of before, he called upon angels. And that one's been beautiful because you can feel them. I could feel them throughout my entire recovery of just like never, it's this like spiritual high all the time from just like this love and just like this feeling that the room is full. The other thing he blessed me with is a full recovery. And I think there were some people that like pulled him aside afterwards and said, "Hey, just so you know, like you can't bless her with things that you want." And he's like, well, yeah, I guess. So what happened is afterwards, like, we had a family member who's known for his priesthood blessings come and also give me a blessing. And nobody told him about the previous blessing. And you can see where this is going. He blessed me with the same two things. He blessed that angels would be upon me and a full recovery. And people were like, did you talk to Hannah's mom? How did you know? And he's like, no, I don't know. I don't know. I just blessed her with a full recovery. And at this point, not even doctors could ever say I have a full recovery. Nobody could say that I'd have a full recovery. Like, if taking one look at me, you know that I'm going to be messed up for the rest of my life. And I remember there were two surgeries that were going horribly wrong. But at this one surgery, is when they called my parents to say their last goodbyes. That was a week later. That was a week after the blessing.
Wow.
And then there were other surgeries that don't make sense. And if I were to go into the whole medical aspect of it all, it's bizarre that at the very last second I pulled through. At the very last second, this worked and this worked. But finally, when I woke up from my coma, when I was discharged, you mean to tell me I'm going to get a full recovery? No way. No way am I going to get a full recovery. At all. And I didn't believe it at all, but my mom and my stepdad were like, that's what we blessed you with. But I want a full recovery. I would love to have that blessing.
Yeah.
And I would love to be worthy of even just being able to walk again. I broke my back in 4 places, and I broke my pelvis, and I shattered my femur and my foot. And so the walking's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And they, doctors told my parents that I probably will never be able to go to college again. And if I do, it won't be for many, many, many years, and that I'll have to get a lot of help in college. And they're not trying to be negative. They're just giving a realistic
Yeah,
outlook.
they're trying to be realistic.
And I don't blame them because they've never seen a brain injury with how much brain shearing and brain bleeding that I had. That's what the textbook says is like, good luck trying to go back to college. And so, like, I want I want the blessings of having a full recovery when maybe not everybody believes in it. I don't believe in it, but I wanted to believe in it. So that's when reading the scriptures helped. That's when seeking, expecting, I want to be worthy of this blessing. So I'm going to do everything I can to, like, keep my covenants. I'm going to do everything I can. Faith without works is dead.
Yes.
So I'm not going to continue to sit and cry on the couch and eat candy all day, although I did do that a lot. I'm also going to show up to every single therapy and let the Lord know I want this blessing. I want to be worthy of it. And I want to receive this blessing. I don't know how blessings necessarily always work, but I want this blessing that I was given. And it's amazing because I am doing these things. I did graduate college. I am walking. I ran for the first time this past week. For the first time.
That's
I've
amazing.
ran since my accident. And I'm hitting these beautiful milestones. And, like, it'll be a small milestone to anybody else. But to me, it's huge.
Yeah.
Right? And I just get to see that blessing every single day where I'm like, full recovery. Full recovery. And sometimes I think naturally as humans, I'm always going to have a hurting foot. And I'm always going to have this joint that hurts from. But then I have to just keep remembering, He's brought me this far.
Yeah. And that promised blessings are sure. It's, yeah, that, I love hearing your experiences in terms of, like, blessings. Blessings, if someone receives a blessing, they have to believe in it. God doesn't promise things without coming through. He will always come through.
Yeah, He does. He always comes through. And so I think my biggest takeaway from this whole experience is I had so many people praying for me. Like, my story, it went a little viral in eastern Idaho, especially, like, me and Brock being from the area of eastern Idaho.
Yeah.
And so it got really big. And I can't tell you how many hundreds, and I'm not even exaggerating, hundreds of people have said, we've been praying for you. We've been putting your name in the temple. We've really, really been praying for you as a family, or just things like that. And I can feel it. I know that's a really weird thing to say. I can feel, and I've felt all of their prayers during my entire recovery. So it doesn't matter if it's a patriarchal blessing that my mom's waving around in the hospital. It doesn't matter if it's a priesthood blessing, or if it's a temple prayer, putting my name in the temple, or if it's somebody just sitting on their bedside on their hands and knees. Blessings and prayers have such a deeper meaning to me because I have felt the outcome of what these people have prayed for, what I've prayed for. I've felt the outcome of these blessings. I've seen the outcome. And I just know that, like, we often think our Father in heaven is so far away. He's all the way up in heaven. He's not. He's here with us. And He's listening to all of our prayers. He and Heavenly Father, they're listening and they're blessing us. And I'm grateful for that.
Thank you, Hannah. Wow. I really do feel the Spirit right now, and I feel like your story is it's one that you'll be sharing the rest of your life that will really help people through their trials. You're amazing. I respect you a lot. There's one more thing that I want to ask you, and that's just for anyone that is going through a similar trial, whether they were in a recent car accident or just something where their body is broken and they feel like it's beyond repair and that their future looks bleak. Basically, at the beginning of your journey, what message do you have for them?
Oh, my heart goes out, but I know that we cannot go through this earth without trauma. It's almost impossible to go through. And I shake my fist at God sometimes where I'm like, this life could not have been easy, but this life had to be hard. And that's where we learn these experiences. And I think one thing that a lot of people told me at the beginning of my recovery is, and you've heard this before, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. I did not want to hear that. Don't tell me that. Maybe
Yes.
I don't want to be a strong soldier. I don't want to be a strong soldier. Or, you're going to help so many people. Well, I don't want to help people. This sucks. If it means I have to go through this is awful. And so I think things like that are just like, that doesn't help in the moment. But I think what has been such a difficult lesson for me to learn, and I've slowly come to like learning this, is we signed up for this life. I've had an amazing experience where I've come to understand that I signed up for this specific life, and I came to this earth knowing, like my premortal self, I knew what was going to happen in this life that I have. And sometimes I hate her. Why'd you choose this one?
Yes.
You can't help but get a little mad. But the thing is that we signed up for it to come to this earth to gain an earthly knowledge. And I want to change that to a celestial knowledge. Because the knowledge I receive right here on earth is not the knowledge that I can receive in the celestial kingdom. Okay? In any of the kingdoms. I'm learning the celestial knowledge right now. And I think it's hard when you go through such a trial. You can look at any of your friends, like maybe a Bethany or a Sarah, and be like, well, why doesn't she have to go through this? This isn't fair.
Comparison.
Yeah. But the thing is we don't know their battle. They might be going through something different, or maybe it will come, or maybe they've already gone through something, okay? And so you can't compare. But sometimes it sucks to see other people living a great life. And it's hard. But the one thing that I have learned is that I have something that they don't have. I have this amazing knowledge of my Savior, of myself, of pushing through, of love, of empathy and compassion, of trial and horror and all of these things. I have something that they don't have. And I think I'm cool because of what I've learned. Like, I love what I've learned. And I don't love my trial, but I've loved how I've come out of it and experiences I've had. And it wouldn't have happened. The other thing that I would tell somebody is, like, none of this would have happened if I didn't try and get better. How I said earlier, faith without works is dead. Because I had every single reason to keep sitting on the couch and crying all day and just saying, well, life sucks now. And I have every right to. I have every right to do that. But that's not going to help me, and that's not going to help my situation. So don't succumb to your trial. Never. And it's so easy to. But don't succumb to your trial. Grow past it. Keep moving forward so you can learn these experiences. And you'll be grateful that you kept showing up to every single therapy, to every single doctor appointment.
Beautiful. God will help you through it all.
He'll carry you through it.
You can do hard things. Awesome.
Yes.
Hannah, thank you so much for your time and just in general, your resilient soul, for sharing your experiences. It's going to be really cool to see over these coming years what you do with your life. And yeah, just grateful for this time with you.
Well, I want to thank you for having such a darling podcast. I've listened to some of the podcasts, and I think it's amazing how you pull the stories from these people and can share it. So thank you.
Of course. It's really a privilege. So, yeah, hope everyone has a wonderful day, and yeah, we'll see you next time.